You guys remember how the last time we covered like a Suiika, the artist that did this Vtuber model with a bunch of customizable toggles? And she was basically accusing this other artist of copying her for many, many years and tracing some of her artwork. I think some people in chat were not too convinced by all the allegations, especially the tracing ones. There's definitely some very, very strong inspirations that came from it, but it's a little bit of a wobbly case. But now finally the artist in question, Yina, has also put out her response saying, everyone deserves a chance to speak their truth, and this is mine. Preface. These are serious allegations about my art posted on Twitter by Suiika on May 25, 2025. The main concern being circulated is that I have traced or copied from Suiika and or other artists in my final works uploaded on my Twitter. I want to say that Suika's allegations are not true. My final work are entirely my own, not traced and not copied from anyone else's work. This is the style I developed over the years of practice, personal exploration, and creative growth, shaped by personal influences around me. The time-lapse recording attached is an example of how my work is entirely my own and created without any tracing, copying, or heavy reference to Suiika and or any other artist she alleges. Because Suiika in her Google Doc was also saying that she copied another artist, a Shibi, more specifically. I only ask that people look at both sides of the situation with an open mind, avoid making assumptions and jumping to a conclusion based on one perspective. The following sections will address and disprove the allegations made openly by Suiika, which have publicly called my reputation, integrity, and credibility into question. Before addressing each claim in detail, it is important to acknowledge how these claims were presented. The framing relies on selective context and speculation that leads readers to assume and come to a conclusion without full evidence. Each of the exhibits in each section directly addresses and refutes a specific claim that was made against me. I've made sure to include relevant references, sketches, inspiration to show clearly where my idea come from, how they were developed, and why the allegations do not hold. Disclaimer: dates on timestamp are US time zones, unless stated otherwise. Explicit consent has been given to commission exhibits, example by others I have referenced below, unless stated otherwise. The document has been formatted in landscape mode. Please keep that in mind for optimal readability. So the tracing accusation mentioned as most recent copying under Suiika's document. So Suiika claimed that my model sketch is traced, copied with the face outline, neck, lip proportion, and its shape. That is not true. In anime art, shoujo and feminine designs in particular, feminine character proportions follow certain specific convention, such as a thinner neck where the outer edge will usually line up at the iris or even at the inner edge. Soft tapered jaw and slightly pointed chins. Depending on artistic liberty taken and how feminine the goal is to make the character, the vertical placement of the eyes can be shifted upward or downward to achieve a youthful or mature look. The pose is generally placed halfway between the eyes and chin, though it may sit slightly lower. These are the common guidelines for anime face. When characters are being drawn in symmetrical front-facing view that is limited in variation, it will often lead to a visual overlap with when following similar stylistic trends, proportion angles and line work interval looking similar. The similarities are an outcome when following basic foundational principles of proportions and shape, and as such is not indicative of copying or tracing. I have not traced nor copied Suiika's model face in my model sketch. For comparison purposes, Suiika's model and my work has been superimposed into two different Zenless Zone 0 3D models. Vivian left and Alexandrina right as shown below. These ZZZ models have the archetypal anime proportions such as rounded chin shapes, taper jawline, and thin necks. When compared side by side, my designs align more closely to Alexandrina, while Suiika matches more with Vivian. Although both Suiika and my work have a general similarity at first glance, a closer look at the comparison below shows subtle but important difference. So here's Suiika, and this is her work, and this is Vivian, and this is Alexandrina. An example, Suiika's proportion, lip, and eye placement aligns more closely with Vivian. So this one. It highlights Suiika having a wider cheek that can be seen in Vivian, but a more pointed chin like Alexandrina. My work aligns more with Alexandrina's proportion. The lips line up more. The ends of the eyes align, but it highlights that my eyes sit lower, a softer chin, and jawline is still narrowed. Both our works have a close overlap with the 3D models and is reflective of the common stylistic choices made. With the same logic Suiika originally applied to me, one could argue that both our work mirrored this existing face's proportion and shapes closely, which would not be fair and accurate conclusion. Similar stylistic influence do not correlate to imitation, especially when it is common, particularly in the VTubers anime-inspired art. Relying purely on resemblance as proof makes it unreliable. Makes it an unreliable claim given that the example shows how both works have a close overlap with the 3D models featuring common stylistic choices. Suiika claimed that the eye shape was copy traced from her customizable eye. Okay, so this was a big one because Suiika was saying that her eye shape is like almost a trademark, like a big part of her style. So Yina says that is not true. I have neither traced nor copied her eye shape from her customizable eye slider. Exhibit A and B below were referenced when drawing the eye of the model sketch in question of tracing/copying. This one. Oh, it is very close. Eye shape ref for you. Oh, her artist sent her the eye shape ref. Or her friend sent her the eye shape ref. The image on the left was sent to me by my friend as a reference for the eye shape, which is indicated in the screenshot. The date difference, highlighted red, is due to them being located outside of the US, which affects the timestamp. The image on the right is another reference that contributed to the eye shape in this specific model sketch. That was in May 19. When was this model made? Exhibit B, these are real-life references used for specific eye details such as highlights, overall makeup, and waterline. Time-lapse. To disprove the allegations of copying or tracing, I've recorded time-lapse of a quick bust-up front-facing model sketch as I proudly work in Photoshop, which does not have the inbuilt feature to record a time-lapse like Clip Studio Paint or Procreate. The model sketch I have done is referenced from Madel's Monster High Draculora. Let's see it. But that's just another drawing that she's doing. Not the one she's being accused of tracing, I suppose. But it proves that she can draw, I guess? I'm kind of hypnotized by this. Yeah, I guess it also shows how she uses references. And I mean, she kind of did the eyes with that water line mark. I'm gonna skip ahead a little bit. Okay, this is the eye highlights. Those were discussed also in the other document. And the ombre lips and the waterlined eyes. Yeah, I think it's, I mean, this style is, it's kind of like that. I don't want to make a judgment yet because I haven't finished reading the document. But I feel like Suika's claim would have held so much better if she didn't push those claims as hard, if she just stopped at the, you know, reference and all of that. And at the same time, I also feel like, I mean, I guess she felt like she was being stalked, which really brought up her discomfort. But I also feel like in a lot of these situations, like at the end of the day, the way Suiika renders her model and her art is top tier, and people don't just hire her because she can, you know, draw really well. They hire her for her stylistic choice, for her, because they know she'll get the project done. You know, there's other reasons why you get hired, not just your art. And I think in most of these cases, unless it's like egregious stalking, maybe it's just better to focus on how you can constantly, you know, evolve your art. And if other people want to be, you know, just cheaper copies of you, then just let them, you know, just let them. But so far, like, I feel like she's making a pretty good case for herself. She's very organized in this document. Like, this is very, very organized. This is a side-by-side comparison of my work that was accused of copying tracing the result from the time-lapse. Eyes between the two model sketches. Boom, boom. Okay, they're exactly the same. What the fuck? And the model sketch accused of tracing copying and the model sketch time-lapse. Okay, that's almost exactly the same. I'm not gonna lie. I could see this becoming a VTuber model, by the way. I like the design a lot. Do you know how many copycats Sakimi-chan has? Sakimi-chan is like one of the most well-known artists, yeah. Technically, you could use tracing as a time-saving measure without lacking the skills to draw. Yeah, definitely. That's a good point. This is the superimposed image of the work that was accused of copy and tracing the result from the time-lapse. I can tell there's been, at least, I'll say this, there's been a lot of work put into this Google document. I mean, this part, okay. I get the point she's trying to make, and it's pretty solid. The superimposed image of the model sketch being accused of tracing copying and the model sketch from the time-lapse aligns closely together from the general proportions, placement of features, and the eye shape. This reaffirms the point that my sketch in question was created wholly from my own process using real-life references and not copied or traced as alleged. I want to highlight 3 key points. The claim of copying tracing. It was alleged that my work involved copying Suiika's, however, as shown in the overlaid comparison above, Suiika's own work closely matched the Zenless Zone 0 3D model, Vivian and Alexandra, with different small subtleties to both. This shows that the similarities in facial proportion and structure are not unique to either of us, but reflective of common stylistic elements that are widely used by others. To single out my work and to be accused of copying tracing when visual comparisons like these can happen often and unintentionally seems speculative at best, targeted and harmful at worst. This sets a dangerous precedent for the VTubing art community. Suiika claims the eyes I have drawn are trace copied from her customizable model. A screenshot below taken from her document, she states that the eyes are similar once her customizable model eye was tweaked with the sliders to fit my work. The allegations put forth against me highlights a potential dangerous issue at hand within the VTuber art community in its future. As mentioned and explained in section 1.1, VTuber models are designed for symmetrical front-facing views. This leaves little to no room for variation, proportion, and face shapes before they start to naturally overlap due to these limitations. It opens the floor for more artists to be accused of tracing simply because proportions or facial feature appears similar or line up, especially where customizable models are more rampant than ever. With adjustments to the customizable sliders, it is possible for anyone to manipulate a customizable model to align with another artist's work and use that as evidence to support the idea of tracing copying. I remember in chat when we went over that part in the Suiika document, somebody in chat was like, well, that doesn't count as proof if you modify the eye to fit it. And it's kind of true. But I'm still thinking about this because I remember that while we read the Suiika document, we were like, each allegation on its own, it didn't hold that much weight. But then when you took them all together, we were like, okay, this person is like a big fan of Suiika. I think it was more that. It's more like, yo, they're a big fan. If similarities in the eye-shape, facial feature, and proportion is enough to warrant accusation, it sets a precedent going forward that artists will be subjected to the same scrutiny for drawing things in a certain way. There will be nothing to prevent this from happening again in the foreseeable future of this community. Do not line up, but when the eyes you can see here do not line up, but when focusing on the eyes, you just have to edit the eye size vertical and eye shape parameters for the eye of the customizable VTuber model a little, and you have a very similar eye. That was a screenshot from Suiika's document. The public implications of wrongdoing. Suiika made a public post directly naming me and suggesting that I have been copying, tracing, and heavily referencing. The use of image overlays to highlight similarities in eye shape and facial proportion strongly implies tracing. Even if the claim wasn't stated outright, it can be easily interpreted by the public as tracing. While the document was later edited to clarify her intent, the initial presentation of it carries weight and planted a seed of doubt, one that shaped public perception of me and my works. Regardless of the follow-up edits and tweets, the suggestion was already planted and the impact was felt immediately. Once an allegation with serious implication is made publicly, going back to edit the document for follow-ups does little to undo any of the harm already caused. Screenshot of Suiika's tweet before the document was posted. She said, low-key tracing my work. Screenshot from Suiika's follow-up tweet after the document. It also clearly said multiple times there is a heavy referencing and copying involved. By no means that I claimed that every single thing Nina drew is traced off me. Especially when she had several years, and in that, this is a screenshot from the document. It says, even tracing other artists' model work. Claims of copying, headband, animal ears, two-toned hair, dark goth design, dark clothing, outfit top design, and red eyes. So one of the claims was that Nina made herself a VTuber model, and Suiika claimed that it was copying her. The inspiration for my new OC began when I started playing VR chat in 2022. Suiika had made an allegation of tracing in 2022 that I had addressed and disproved, but that accusation had left a deep emotional impact. After the 2022 allegations from Suiika, it was really hurtful to be accused of tracing, and I left a deep impact on how I approached my work thereafter. My previous design, which one meant so much to me, became something I no longer identified with due to it no longer representing who I was or how I wanted to express myself creatively. Exhibit C, VR chat avatar with airbrush hair color and strip cleavage window, hot pink eye 02. Reminiscent headband with horn and animal ears. This has subsequently become my main inspiration. Oh yeah, I remember. Because in Suika's doc, she was like, oh, she suddenly started getting animal ears. So we're skipping a couple models right now and we're going straight to this one, the headband. While spending time in VR chat and exploring avatars, I found a space that allowed me to start fresh and slowly rebuild what creativity felt like me. This is when and where the idea of my OC design started to form. Those familiar with VR chat will understand a wide range of bold aesthetics with avatars that reflects themes like edgy, fantasy, and dark elegance strongly on the platform. There are many VR chat avatars and VR assets with design elements similar to my character that can be found through public search. The exhibitions below will showcase the design influence and the process of the design choice I made from personal influence and stylistic preference that shaped my OC's design final look. While I no longer use this version of the design, it has since been further developed and refined as part of my creative progress. So Exhibit D on the left, so this image, VR chat avatar with cat ears, a headband with horns, crosses, pink eyes, strips of hair highlights, and dark edgy vibes. The avatar is a special DLC of a different pre-made avatar, another source of design inspiration. Exhibit E is another VR chat avatar with cat ears, hairstyle bangs, strong use of black edgy vibes. The avatar creator creates avatar with an edgy emo aesthetic. So Suiika was claiming that the headband, animal ears, and two-toned hair streaks, dark goth designs were copied. Oh yeah, the two-tone hair streaks is the fact that she had like some lighter bangs here in her design. So based on the timeline, it's important to note that the avatar's creator work from Exhibit C in regard to the animal ears headband, dark design, and the hair strip highlight was publicly available before Suika's 3.0 design. And the headband was released publicly on Twitter in January and March 2022 in respective order. I'm now being accused of copying Suika's design when similar concepts have existed in public spaces before her design was created. Okay, so Suika's model came after these references, but how do we know these are her direct inspirations though? Exhibit 8, F, G, H, and I were included to further show that kind of visual style I was drawn to with the dark colors, animal ears, and two-toned hair. These exhibits show how my character design was heavily influenced by my preferred aesthetics of VR chat models. This screenshot depicts a conversation I had with a friend in May 2022 about an avatar I came across that I became fond of while shopping for VR chat avatars. This was one of my inspiration too for the creation of my character. This one, I really love this one. DMs between friends and I were expressed I was going through an emo phase. Screenshots taken in VR chat of me using an edgy VR chat avatar. Damn bro, not gonna lie, I feel like VR chat might wreck my PC, I'm worried. Are you going through an emo phase? Yes, it's called a VR chat emo phase. Okay, but none of these screenshots say, like, I feel like this doesn't really prove her point. Even though I get that she's trying to make the point that she was going through an emo phase, so the character that she made represents that. But at the same time, there's no proof that these are direct references that she used to create her character. The screenshots aren't a conversation with her friend saying, yo, I'm gonna use that, I'm gonna put that on my mood board or some shit. Suiika claims that the dark clothing and the top design was copied. This is untrue. Please refer to Exhibit J, K, L, M, and O, P, and Q as they showcase the full development process of my character design, along with its reference, ranging from early concept sketches, moodboard inspiration, to final look. Oh, there we go. We might finally see some. They show how the design evolved and the thoughts that went behind each design element that shaped the final look. Because lazy in doing everything in one sketch, white might look nice. And there's this, and this. With the assistance of a friend who referenced elements from Mo Flavor lingerie during the design process, as well as a reference photo I provided, a concept sketch was created. What about this, like color, and then the booba window? I love booba window. Noted, you must have a booba window. Okay. This is the Cyber Bunny set. The OC design process including mood boards, concept iterations, and color palette exploration. Experimentation with different types of outfit colors, hair color, and streaks can be seen. The mood board can be seen in larger detail on Exhibit P. So that was her hair exploration concept. Some clothing mood boards. What's the timestamps on these messages? 6/16/2022. And Suika's model was January 9, 2022. Isn't Suika's model before? I mean, she has very detailed mood boards. I can see the evolution of this character. And there's no one else's art on these mood boards either. Screenshots of DMs discussing early aspects of my design theme and aesthetic direction. The message reference is the inspiration from the 2019 anime My Dress Up Darling in terms of color palette and design that I feel is reminiscent as part of the design. This is 6/13/2022. My dress up darling, I literally color picked. Okay, so she used the color palette of that. I'm organizing her mood board. Hold on, I'll show you. Also, I'm going with Ruviella's. She's gonna have like butterfly moth motif, like her family, like, okay. Overall early exploration sketches made of the design. Exploration ideas and iterations of hairstyles for my OC design. Final mood board of the design behind my character. The DMs in Exhibit R reflect the level of thought and personal meaning that went into developing my character's lore and backstory. The depth of emotional investment shown here directly disproves the idea that I simply copied Suiika's design. The character creation came from a place of genuine effort and not something that was carelessly created. So Yina here says she's like mischievous, naughty, sassy, and she doesn't care what other people think of her because her family have always been part of the council in their world that like holds order, right? And she's part of the council or is prepped or they want her to be part of the council and she's breaking tradition from the way she wears, like they're super conservative, but she's out there with her ass out. She turns into a bat and bites them. Suiika claimed that I had copied her red eyes on her design. This is untrue. Exhibit S below includes the original concept sketch of my character, the specific artwork Suiika referenced in her document, and my reference sheet to show the intended original eye color. Sparkle from Honkai Star Rail and Hoshino Ruby is included to show the dark pink garnet eye distinct from red by comparison. The eye color in this reference is similar to those in my character's eyes color. Multiply layer settings for lighting purposes were removed in a middle piece to better showcase the intended original eye color. This exhibit is to show and disprove the claims of copying her red eyes. This is a little bit like, well look, other anime characters have the same eye colors. So, claims of copying the same hand pose for the art piece I created. This is not true. The hand pose on my art piece was not copied off her screenshot and her model. The art posted and the pose it entails were inspired by K-pop group Red Velvet's song Peekaboo, and the pose is from a key signature move from the dance where they lift a hand over their face with an OK sign hand pose in the music video, and for promotional images of the song album, so this one here. Since I didn't like the posing of the hand and felt it looked unappealing with the way the pinching fingers of the index and thumb blocked out the majority of her eye, I changed it so that what it is now to better showcase the focal point that were meant to be her eyes originally. The claim was that, she saw that Suiika posted this and then she posted this. This is maybe a weaker part of her document. Like, I understand that Suiika doesn't own the rights to red eyes and headbands and all of that. Like, that was dumb. But the point Tina's trying to make here, it's like, well, this was my reference, but I changed it. But now it doesn't look the same. But it's a popular pose, but it doesn't look the same. The accusation side, getting roasted letter by letter. Suiika now getting more damage than benefit from potential appropriation attempts of Yina's style. Yeah, this doesn't look good on Suiika right now. So to showcase that she did take inspiration from this band Red Velvet pose, this is from the Peekaboo album for Red Velvet or the Peekaboo song, and she's tweeting the lyrics over here on June 23rd, 2022. So these were the design process that shaped my character design, from the mood board and exploratory concepts to the creative intent behind her final design, including her backstory and powers. Each element was thoughtfully developed alongside the details and intricacies of the backstories. Yeah, to me it seems like she's put a lot of thoughts into her mood boards and into her design, and she came up with this product. It ended up looking similar to what Suiika posted. But a teacher once told me, it was an art teacher, and I ask him sometimes, how come it is that, for example, you look at fashion shows and they're created 6 months in advance, right? Sometimes months in advance. But when they debut on the runway, a few of them will have very similar stuff or will come up with like almost similar designs. And I remember distinctively what she answered, and she said, it's because when you're like in the same environment and you're in the same wave as everybody, you take from the same inspiration, this is just normal things that will happen. And I think this might have been the case here. Like, there's a big movie that becomes famous this year, and everybody's gonna draw inspiration from it, whether you like it or not. When it shapes entire cultural mind, it has an impact and an influence for a reason. Yeah, art development processes and trends are similar to fashion trends. I don't doubt it. Oi, you! Yeah, you! Hi! If you're not subscribed to my second channel, I don't know what you're doing with your life. So take a moment, press the like button, press the subscribe button, and hit that notification bell on. And thank you so much. I appreciate you. Now let's get back into the video. Alright, so section 3, copying of the eyes allegations. Suiika claims that I have never done eyes that had inner corner of the eyes or underwater line in her document. This is not true. I have always drawn my eyes leaning towards semi-realism long before joining Twitter in 2019. I was active on Instagram as early as 2014. There are some examples from my Instagram pre-2020. Suiika has started posting on Instagram since she joined in 2017, as stated in her document. My earliest art with semi-realism eyes was published October 2016. The style continues to 2018 and into 2020. My god, her art like evolves so much throughout the years. I could see here the early influence of her design. And here, then this. She does have the waterline and the inner corner. Damn. Here. She claims that the eye shape specifically for the Rad Vtuber model and Whale Girl design was heavily referenced from hers. This is also not true. The following exhibit shows the process how I experiment with some anime-esque eye styles and shape while still referring to the real-life references. Rad Girl model is something like this, okay. Art piece with more anime-esque eyes. Exhibit X. DMs with the client show work in progress image where the eye design evolves through various stages of refinement and adjustment. And the picture on the far right, a real-life reference photo, is visible, which I was using as a reference during the process. The eye shape developed here is reminiscent of the one in the artwork shown above in Exhibit W. And the commission sketch in Exhibit Y. Booba update and outfit coloring, new lashes. Compared to the sketch version, but I think it's cuter because it seems more fluffier. I'm still working on the body base and tweaking some of the outfit design. What do you think of these eyes? It's a bit harder to tell because they're not colored with rough colors, but do you like the soft, mature, sexy vibe? Or do you want more powerful, sexy, with more cat-like design? Yeah, it's called the Duyan eye. True, that's what it's called. Including work in progress screenshot of the rat model as shown, I used both my own artwork and real-life eye reference to draw the eyes. A commissioned sketch shown on the right features a more anime-styled eye, further reflecting my experimentation with anime aesthetics after transitioning from the semi-realism I explored during my earlier Instagram period. The Whale Girl piece includes a real-life reference of an eye that was used as a reference for the eye-shaped lashes and waterline. Okay. Damn, that is some makeup. Suiika claims that every semi-realism VTuber model artist has similarities, not trying to claim all semi-realistic art style as her. Suiika states that similarities are common among semi-realism and she's not trying to claim ownership of the style itself. By her own statement below, I am unsure as to why my style has been singled out and interpreted as copy, especially when I created it independently through a combination of different influence based on my preferred aesthetic without any reference to her work. I have since avoided using VTuber model artists as a main reference source for my style circa 2022 allegations onward. Manhwa art style, real-life reference with Duyan makeup, a type of makeup style stemmed from China that is characterized by the soft and doll-like feature and manhwa-inspired lashes, and popularized through the Chinese equivalent of TikTok and BeiJD. Okay, we get it. It's Duyan makeup. These are the ball-jointed dolls. These are manhwa references. I can see the inspiration. Doll art for the lashes. Screenshots of updates sent to client showing a PNG of their design alongside with real-life references of a face makeup which were used as a point of reference during the entire process. Screenshots depict DMs in which I was actively exploring and experimented with different eye styles and shapes and facial proportion with aesthetics I prefer based on the reference shown. Boom. Super slight difference. Thoughts on this one? I thought I'd add more eyelashes. Thoughts on this? Exhibit AA, BB, and CC are references I use that have contributed to the evolution of my style, especially when it comes to eye shapes, lashes, and the details of the eye. Combined with my long love of dolls and that feature their emphasis on bold lashes and eye lines, I believe these influences are clearly reflected in my art style. By sharing these references and inspiration, I hope it's clear that my work is shaped by real-life inspiration and personal interest around me. The things I love and connect with are the influence that define my visual aesthetics, artistic taste, and the overall direction of my art. As shown in the Instagram examples above, I have been exploring different types of eye style with the style of semi-realism and anime long before. Claims that there was another artist, Loltami, being traced. This concern was addressed previously in 2022, and I will clarify it once more again. In her document, Suiika stated that she does not know the owner of the Shimbi model that Hina made. The way it is presented could be interpreted that the model was created for a client and sold for profit. The model in question was part of a personal study and was never intended for commercial use or profit, as clearly mentioned as per the DM in this document on page 44. Oh, so that Shimbi model wasn't made for somebody. Suiika also mentioned that the traced copied posts are gone now. While I do not agree that the work involved tracing or copying, I chose to remove the post at the time to respect the artist's wishes and concern being raised. Sorry, I had to cough. This is from Suika's allegation of her document. I do not know the owner of the Shimbi model that Hina made. And screenshots of my DM with Suiika. There was no intention of it to be sold other than for practice. And I've told Ina that it was something I should not have posted, especially if it was for practice and experimentation. I've always been transparent with the concern that were brought up that the piece was heavily inspired, as many artists do, in studying styles they admire. The intention was to practice and learn. 2 shows model work that were allegedly traced. Claims were made that certain parts of the model, specifically eyes and legs, were traced. This was also addressed previously at the time, and I want to reiterate this for a second time. While Suika's work was visually referenced as part of the exploration of my style back then, the final piece was created through my own process. I cannot admit to an action I did not commit, and I maintain my stance that I did not trace her work. The time-lapse above in section 1 shows my process of how I work with references, that my work is original and not the result of tracing. One-piece dress, cropped cardigan, reference used for cardigan outfit. Claims that my previous 2 models, blonde model and the outfit from my pink-haired model, was copied. When I was approached by Suiika in 2022 regarding the tracing allegations, the topic of design similarities, especially my older model with the cardigan outfit and blonde hair, was not mentioned. I was not given the opportunity to address these claims at the time. This is the first instance of the design comparison mentioned. I believe it's important to clarify that they were not part of the original discussion in 2022. Oh, that's interesting, okay. Regarding the cardigan outfit, cozy vibes are widely used and commonly seen motifs in the Vtuber community. My outfit is not a tank top, as Suiika claims, but a one-piece dress inspired by the wrapping of a Ferrero Rocher chocolate. The cardigan is brown and worn loosely, not tucked in, and both off-shoulder. The wavy hairstyle reference was a toggle I added later on for a style change and not part of the final look of the design. I need to reiterate that these claims were never mentioned in the original discussion. Then, the similarities pointed out by Suika's and my blonde model. The bangs and hair were not derived from her design. It was inspired by corporate VTuber from Hololive JP Lapless. Yeah, I thought the bangs were not very similar. The hair bow was inspired by Sailor Moon Venus from Sailor Moon. My entire design was very reminiscent of Sailor Moon. Bows are widely used motif across countless different character design, especially in feminine and elegant archetypes. The neck pieces are design elements common in fantasy, idol, and elegant style designs. Okay, but the neck piece is kind of similar. Similarity in isolated design aspects does not indicate imitation, especially when the design direction was influenced by publicly recognizable sources. What may feel like a specific match can just be shared influences from the same/similar visual culture library, with that being the VTuber community, which often draws inspiration from anime and games. That's the lap listing. These were some of the reference inspiration behind the next piece. The overall design was inspired by Sailor Moon, and hairstyle were from Kokomi. The earrings in particular were inspired by an artist Ueko Simple Moon on a string earring design that was transformed to align with my creative vision. Visual reference of the inspiration behind my blonde model design. Section 5, Fallacy and Arguments. I'm not implying that Suiika has copied or traced my work. However, if the roles were reversed, then one could make a similar claim by using the same reasoning used against me. I'm not doing so because I believe this logic of relying on surface similarities is extremely flawed. This section is only intended to show how subjective and speculative the accusations against me are. A false analogy is a common kind of reasoning that may seem reasonable and logical at first glance. However, this is a logical fallacy. Sharing similar traits doesn't mean two things are the same, or that one comes from the other. Art 1 contains feature A, Art 2 contains feature A, therefore Art 1 must be copied from Art 2. First fallacy, false analogy. This is Suika's Shibi, this is my Shibi work. Just because two art could share feature A, in this case proportion eye shape, nose, teeth, and face shape, any similar visual feature that happens to share a line up with doesn't automatically mean one copied the other. Yeah, correlation does not equal causation. This happens when people look for evidence that supports what they already believe in instead of looking at the full picture. When there's no direct proof, some may turn public judgment by presenting a comparison and allowing for public interpretation and opinion. While this seems like a neutral stand, it's creating a narrative based on speculation and absolving the responsibilities and consequences of a direct accusation. Visual similarities don't always tell the full story, and public interpretation can sometimes miss the intent and thought process behind artistic choices and liberties taken. Overall, when Suiika's methods may suggest a certain theory, they do not amount to actual proof. The way these claims are framed relies on logical fallacies, yada yada yada. As a result, this situation has become a matter of one perspective against the other. Okay, I get what she's trying to say. Section 6. Claims of having an alt account to stalk. Stalking is a criminal offense. The claim that I have used an alt account to stalk is both unfounded and highly irresponsible. Allegations of this nature cannot be made without proper evidence, as they carry serious legal and reputational consequences. In her document, she refers to it as a suspected use of an alt account. However, this is a direct contradiction to an earlier tweet where she publicly stated they must have used an alt account to stalk my art and keep copying it. What kind of weird obsession is this? The shift in language from a definitive statement of certainty to a cautious one does not dismiss the original claim. This is a serious claim made without any supporting evidence, relying purely on speculations. She has contributed to the spread of damaging narrative based on speculation by publicly sharing details that made my account easily accessible to unwarranted harassment. No harmful claim, reckless assumptions. While framed as an effort to promote learning or awareness, the impact has been harmful and caused the spread of unverifiable claims and unsupported statements. Section 7. Damages and clarification. It was stated on Suiika's tweet that I have several years worth of history of copying me and even tracing other artist models' work. The phrasing used in this post is ambiguous and can be easily misinterpreted, implying I spent years copying and tracing multiple artists, which is not true. This is a very serious defamatory allegation, one that questions my integrity and publicly defames me with evidence built on speculation and assumptions. It is misleading and heavily exaggerates the nature of the accusations. I did not trace or copy her from any other artist, as the exhibits above clearly show. Any similarities in style can likely stem from shared inspiration, taste, and aesthetic, and common stylistic influence found across the Vtuber art community. My designs and the evolution of my style comes from personal interest, creative exploration, and sources that I have been transparent about throughout this document. In her document, Suiika states that the intent is to raise awareness and not incite harassment. However, the decision to include a link to my account, combined with the framing of the accusation, has enabled such public harassment. This includes targeted message, loss of opportunities, misinformation that's led to reputational damage to me and my business as an artist. Unkind message I've received. Rock make her bald and obese. It's traced from Suiika's art, that's why. Because it's traced. If only they didn't trace Suiika's art style. I don't mean to be harsh, but the Vtuber community contains some of the most pathetic psych of individuals ever. I don't understand what's so hard about looking in the mirror and telling yourself I'm an asshole and need to change. Thief. I'll make a TLDR slop version, but I insist you read the original document yourself. Yineri lies, of course, that they'll change, but they don't and then go on to trace another Shibi model. There's a fine line between branching off someone's art style to create your own and straight up tracing. The people defending her do not understand that, and if she traced, it would be fine if she was practicing, but selling another person's art is not okay. This looks strangely familiar. Yeah, it looks like they traced Suiika. You're correct, because they did. This is just so disappointing to find out, since I had originally wanted to commission Yineri. To find out they've been tracing, copying Suiika's art for years, even if it's not for every art piece, is just horrid, especially since she was talking to about it. So she says, she cites this screenshot for loss of opportunities. I need to be clarified that both had mutually blocked each other. Although it was stated on Suiika's document that I was blocked not too long after the 2022 allegation she made, the way the situation was presented has led many to believe that I blocked her after she reached out or attempted to resolve things in 2022, which is not accurate. The reality is we both had each other blocked already by the time her document was made public. I was already blocked when I blocked her. I had decided to block for my own peace of mind because I no longer wanted to feel fearful or restricted when exploring different directions of my art. Okay, but why block Suiika? May 28, 2025. This is misinformation and or misunderstanding of the public. Considering how large her platform is, I believe that being such a public figure can have strong implications and lead to unintended consequences. The situation has been professionally and personally distressing and damaging for something I did not do at all. I fully support open, respectful conversations surrounding originality. However, I believe these discussions should be approached with responsibility and care, especially when they accuse individual. The way I've been portrayed in her document has contributed to public misunderstanding and scrutiny, resulting in reputational harm. The trust I had built with my peers and audience have been significantly impacted, and the effects of it may not be reparable. I'm proud of my work and stand by the integrity of my art. I have shown my design process through the previous exhibits. For that reason, I will not engage in any more arguments, as it will not add additional value. I take a lot of pride in the effort and care that goes into every piece I create, especially commissioned work where trust is everything. I believe in learning, improving, creating with the utmost integrity that hasn't changed. I understand that conversations surrounding originality and uniqueness in art can get heated and emotional, and how misinformation can spread. I'm speaking up because I want to share my perspective. I appreciate everybody who's been patient and supporting me through this. Those who have reached out or simply taken the time to understand. I'd like to end this document by saying that I stand by the fact that I've never engaged in the behaviors I've been accused of, and I will not admit to something I did not do. Both in the 2022 allegations and current claims, I know my truth and I've carried the burden of the weight of these claims long enough. This document is not just a response, it's my declaration. A statement that I will not be reduced, shamed, or silenced by false narratives and claim. I hope that by laying out my process, references, and the efforts behind my work, that you will see beyond the assumption for what they truly are. Well, this was a well put together document. Pieces from Yina that were pretty obviously traced. I thought I recalled one in which the line art could be directly overlaid on top of Suika's art and match. Yeah, the Shibi thing, she said was for practice. That's why it was like heavily referenced. Like these. But then she explained all of her inspiration, but the legs... She never addressed the legs overlapping, by the way. The eye. She didn't address the eye. Yeah, she didn't address the eye here. She addressed some other eyes. There's still some holes missing, but the way Yina crafted her document, it was like, it's so well put together that I feel like she showed that she did take inspiration not just from one person, but from many. So the tracing was just like these overlapping designs at the start, right? This. Oh, this. But then she did that comparison with the ZZZ models. But the ZZZ models are 3D. They're 3D. It feels like the hair on this Suiika model is a lot more detailed. I can see Ina's point about the face shape and the neck shape and the chin and all of that and the eye placement. But like the lines just don't match for the hair. They don't match for the hair. They're similar, like the bangs are at the same height. But only the jawline and neck match, actually. And this is the leg overlap. The legs were pretty right on top of each other. That wasn't addressed in the defense document. Same with this eye, which is... That one is really close. I would make the argument that the neck and jaw matching are just expectations of industry standard at this point. Oh yeah. And this is the point that she's trying to make here. Like, is that every anime character has this neck and face shape. I liked her document more. It was more well made. I don't think it was a little bit too wordy and there was a lot of repetitions.